to understand right from here, not that medical aromatherapy was or is the only key to get back to nature's medicine. There's phytotherapy as well, the brother or sister of it. Both plants and essential oils, as we have seen, have been used over thousands of years through different cultures. And in the meantime, there is fortunately a lot of more natural therapies, which have emerged from within the West and East altogether. But why did this sudden upsurge of the new allopathic medicine happen? The main reason is that the pharmaceutical industry and the body of Western-trained scientists had discovered the realm of synthetic molecules starting in the 19th century. And this was, for many, like a lightning in the night. With this, natural therapies very quickly became folks medicine. Folks medicine practice, not the practice of the educated people. It was the same with what happened to nutrition in the last century. White flour, white sugar, everything refined, filtered, isolated from the grosser layers of the total, was considered to be better, more en vogue. It is true, there were some success stories, if we remember. The fight against cholera, for example, and tuberculosis. With this, it was simply believed that science and technology were the only right answer to all the problems of humanity, including health. The mistake which happened with this was a wrong conclusion. We started to become arrogant and think that nature was inferior to human creativity, that we have to reinvent nature, so to say, make it better than nature, force nature into strict human obedience, as William Bacon, the famous philosopher, expressed it during that time. The outcome is obvious. A highly technological and pharmaceutical approach to health and longevity. I do not want to condemn modern medicine, but it is true, besides its blessings, it has taken a high price on the lives of modern man. Now that we have experienced that the doctors prescribe pills of the pharma industry, which are far from always healing, not always saving lives, but may poison the body, may destroy lives, we have become more vigilant. In his inaugural speech in 1961, Professor Conte declared this year, "We will see that in the list of social terrors of mankind, like the degenerative diseases, heart attacks, cancers, car accidents, and even statistically more important than the horrors of our ancestors, syphilis and tuberculosis, the diseases caused by modern medicine will become more and more evident." The promise of allopathic medicine has not been kept. We count today more than 30% of people hospitalized as victims of iatrogenic diseases, which means victims of medication. It is clear that the four best horses in the stable, as we can call them, namely painkillers, anti-rheumatics, psychodrugs and antibiotics, are all in a crisis, creating devastating side effects, sneakingly poisoning the population, leading to increasing dramatic healthcare costs. It is the same fight not to win as in modern agriculture. We bombard the body, the soil, with isolated chemicals, which do not contain the holistic intelligence of nature. At first, everything looks fine. The unwanted guests are destroyed, the microbes, the bacteria, fungi, pests, viruses, parasites, they are all gone. But then we see that the terrain, the matrix, has been damaged too. And the unwanted guests come back, empowered with new weapons against the weakened vegetation and soil. We lose ourselves in attacking the symptoms and not understanding the totality of the picture. Can we win this fight? Certainly not this way. Usually germs live with us in a symbiotic way. They do not harm us if the milieu remains stable and strong. Therefore, remember the last words of Louis Pasteur on his deathbed, when he said, "Bernard was right. The germ is nothing. The terrain is everything. As Rudolf Steiner, the founder of the anthroposophic movement in Germany, pointed out, quote, "A diseased organism contains the same forces as a healthy one, but out of balance." Disease is a crisis of evolution, the human condition being to step from one stage of equilibrium to the next. The disruption of this balance is always at the cost of certain elements for the sake of other elements. Some decrease, others increase, and develop beyond measure. Being out of balance, the individual loses his link with the universal forces. It is always the same. The outer world either imposes itself too much or too little. Thus the outer damages add to the loss of internal balance. A bacterial infection or the like are only secondary accidents, symptomatic expressions of the underlying disease. End of quote. So the balance is important, not the symptom. Anyway, we know today that germs, microbes, pests, etc. become resistant to nearly everything we infuse or spray on them. The only answer, it is clear, lies in strengthening the terrain or the milieu. No wonder that new approaches to health are needed which exactly do this, namely strengthen the milieu, give balance to mind and body at the same time. Aromatherapy perfectly does this. It was René Maurice Gattefossé's merit in early 20th century to systematically study the effects of essential oils and to dedicate his lifetime to not only understand the biophysical and chemical aspects of their compounds with regards to medical treatments, but also venture into what we would call today psychoaromatherapy. As a visionary, he was fascinated by the psychological effects of fragrances and the possibilities of a new medicine of nature for future generations. He believed also that fragrant volatile substances play the role of antitoxic and antiviral active principles. It can be compared to vitamins and hormones. It is Gattefossé who started to use the word aromatherapy, and we can rightly consider him as the founding father of this young but vigorously growing branch of modern natural medicine. So let us hear how he explains why plants produce essential oils. Quote, "Essential oils play the same role in plants as hormones do in animals. It is a sexual function to maintain the species, also to stimulate tissue growth and to trigger some other functions. Essential oils probably also play a role in mechanisms of defense due to accumulated vital energy. Today, like in old times, we can call volatile substances vital substances. Volatility and fragrance are signals of considerable physiological activity." End of quote. So we have an important point here. Essential oils are linked to accumulated vital energy, as says Gattefossé here. Not only that they successfully fight back microbes of many kinds without unwanted side effects, but they have the properties to strengthen the milieu at the same time. Since they are energy reservoirs of the plants, every herb farmer knows that after some rainy days the yield of essential oils is less. The plants have eaten up their own energy reserves. Because of that, they can serve us to vitalize our body, mind and soul. Now it was also Gattefossé who started emphasizing the importance to use unadulterated essential oils for therapeutic purposes. He made it clear, for example, that spike lavender oil, adulterated with turpentine, which had become a common practice during his time, completely lost its wound-healing properties. Veterinaries complained that the animals they tried to cure only showed itching and eczema after the treatment, whereas pure spike oil helped spontaneous healing of wounds, fur growth happened fast, scabies and tinea disappeared in no time. Is this surprising? Not only that the terpenes added to the spike oil are rather skin-irritating compounds, but in this case they diluted the holistic complexity of the spike oil to such an extent that it was no longer effective. Adulteration is a major problem of the aromatherapy world. It is important to understand that most of the essential oils produced worldwide go into the perfumery, flavor and soap industry. Only 5 to 10% go into aromatherapy. So the remaining 95% are used by people who do not care, do not even need to care about unadulterated oils. They need to care about price consistency and fragrance stability. Always the same, always if possible the same price. Now, nature does not function this way. Every season, every year, the flowers, fruits, leaves, roots, barks, woods, resins, they are all different. Like wine, like vegetables, like anything which cannot be standardized by man. Nature has definitely a horror of repeating itself. Nature does not create anything identical. So the young aromatherapy people have little choice. They have to buy from the producer if they want to get the right product. Anything after the producer is possibly adulterated. The GCMS test can help, of course, but better is to buy direct, even though it may take a lot of traveling and learning a few languages maybe even, in order to get to the source. Otherwise, if one buys the adulterated source, as the farmers in Provence mockingly say, one loses the complexity of compounds. For any one of the numerous compounds of an essential oil, we know this today, contributes to its healing properties. That is what holistic and natural mean, in contrast to the isolated molecules of modern medicine. It would have probably been better if the poor soldiers of World War II would have carried along with them a little emergency kit of wound healing, mind-soothing and invigorating essential oils in order to allow them, in case of emergency, to immediately disinfect wounds and strengthen their immune system. Well, the miracles of chemical antibiotics like penicillin had just been discovered and admittedly worked wonder in their own way during that frenzy. But the Australian soldiers already carried flacons of tea tree oils with them until the stock in Australia was depleted. But to come back to the holistic effects of complex, self-balancing compounds in essential oils, rose oil contains up to 500 different compounds, lavender not much less, and any of them we want in medical aromatherapy. Any of them either was already existent in the plant or has emerged after harvesting, for example during the drying process, or has come up during distillation. The complexity of the inherent balance of compounds in essential oils defines their special healing effects. Each of them has a special vitality or energy field transmittable to the human organism. They match with the body-mind filling up in a very subtle way specific energy holes and fitting into these holes like key and lock. If we isolate the active ingredients, procedures which are used by allopathic medicine, but also through molecular distillation, rectification, etc., we lose at least some, if not all, of the healing properties and risk to have adverse reactions within the physiology. Jean Volney, one of the founders of modern aromatherapy, describes that the common use of eucalyptol, isolated from eucalyptus oil through repeated rectification, loses its major therapeutic effects on the mucous membranes and the bronchs. This was already stated by Cuthbert Hall in 1904. Nevertheless, our pharma people still seem to know better.